Hey, welcome to Film Fanatics. My name is Dan.
My name is Justin.
And I'm Joe.
This week, 3 sequels or spin-offs, all from different genres. You've got animated movie Lego Batman, actioner John Wick 2, and romance drama 50 Shades Darker. So an interesting list, and we start off with Lego Batman.
Well,
Joe?
This is, as you guys said, a pretty easy synopsis. Basically, this takes place as a sequel to the popular Lego movie. You guys might remember that we all loved.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome movie.
High marks all around.
And
Here.
really, and the most popular character from that movie, Lego Batman, gets his own movie, and he's pretty much just being Batman, albeit the, kind of Lego version that has had several movies and video games from there on in. So, obviously a lot sillier. It's Will Arnett reprising his role and being funny as always. And this time around, well, the big plot is that the Joker is kind of upset because he might not be Batman's number one villain. And so he decides to actually, take him out, which is kind of just think he'd always be doing. But that's essentially what happens. And there's a lot of gags and a lot of references. And I think it's a lot of fun, honestly. Like, I don't know if anybody going into this would be, like, comparing it to the Lego movie. I guess that, like, there would be that initial grade,
it's still in that universe.
I would think you compare it to that before you would compare it to, like, The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. But, I think that Lego Batman's kind of already had his own little esteemed universe anyway before this, which I don't know anything about. Other than his inclusion in the Lego movie, I don't know anything about the Lego stuff. But I know a lot of their stuff is pretty enjoyable, I guess. This one, I thought it was pretty funny. I thought there were a lot of good jokes. I thought it was really fun. I think there were actually some decent somber moments once in a while, which were decent. I think as far as a take on Batman, it was pretty much what you'd expect. Do I think it was on the same caliber as the Lego movie? No. But then again, it's kind of less original. It's very much focused on that. But honestly, I liked a lot of the obscure references. I liked a lot of the gags. I liked the voice acting a lot. I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed it a lot. I mean, I didn't have too many negatives with it. I thought maybe it was a little too derivative for what it was. Okay. But then again, I guess the first movie was still pretty commercialized, but it was a satire.
Very.
Yes. So I don't know how you deal with that. But didn't bother me in the first one. Didn't bother me too much in this one. I liked it. Fun kid Batman movie. I really liked it. I hope you guys did.
So I was definitely looking forward to this one. But how does it shape up to the Lego movie, which I think really changed the game in a lot of different ways. It had very much its own unique style. It had a really powerful message, and a really unique one for that matter. The Lego Batman movie doesn't quite have the same level of ambition, but it certainly has its charm. Where I will say I think it kind of falters a little bit is one of the things I loved about the Lego movie was the animation was so intricate. I'll be honest, I legitimately thought it was stop motion the first couple times. This one is a little more... It's more apparent that it's CGI instead of stop-motion animated. Mm-hmm. It's still very realistic, don't get me wrong, but you can definitely tell it's more CGI heavy.
That's fair.
Now, with that said, I think Arnett continues to do a great job as Batman. Batfleck, please take notes.
It's a little different, but...
Very different, but he at least owns the character and looks like he's doing something with it instead of looking bored and confused for 2 hours.
He is.
But you don't see him. He's animated. You don't see him doing anything.
You don't see Kevin Conroy, but he still rocks it. But
it's true. I know, but your comparison was Ben Affleck.
That's true. Well, in his own way, he definitely owns it. Maybe he does add a little more energy, perhaps, than Affleck does. But then again, stoic, mean Batman.
I think they're different
versions.
Archetypes that they're going for there.
But where I think this one really shines is its sheer adherence to the fandom. You can come from any aspect of just loving Batman, be it with the early live action movies, be it the Adam West era. Mm-hmm. Literally, no stone is left unturned. So I think it's really a ton of fun. And whether or not the target audience is going to be able to keep up with them, I don't know. But I think for people who have been able to keep up with the movies and have known the lore, it's absolutely rip-roaringly funny.
Definitely.
Really, my only major issue outside of the animation isn't quite on par, and sometimes the story isn't quite as ambitious as it wants to be. I think the finale is a little bit rushed. But honestly, there's a lot of great humor here. Sometimes it winks a little too much. The meta humor works at times. There are a few instances where it's like, come on, let's actually be a story here. And instead it's like, look, more fan service. not quite to Finding Dory camp, but certainly up there. It's a fun movie. It wasn't quite as much fun as I was hoping it was going to be, but I think it's a worthy spin-off. If they made a sequel to this, I would definitely be on board.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much with you guys. I don't think it's quite as good as the Lego movie.
No.
And part of that is, as you both mentioned, the originality aspect of it. The Lego movie was just out of left field, brilliant, and I don't think anybody really expected that. Here, it's a little more standard, I suppose. The animation is a little more, I don't know if crude maybe is the right word, but you're right, Justin. It's not quite
refined,
as spectacular as the Lego movie was. I think Arnett does a great job with the character. He had a lot of fun with it in the original. Here kind of picks up from there. I think the voice work is pretty good. I think Michael Cera is great as Robin. I forget who plays Alfred.
Oh, Ray Fiennes.
Ray Fiennes,
yeah.
Yep. So he was good.
Good job.
Dawson was very good. I thought Ellie Kemper as the gatekeeper Brick was actually very funny. She's only in a couple scenes, but she was definitely one of my favorite characters. And then
I was wondering who that was, actually.
Yeah, good old Ellie Kemper. Another Bridesmaids alum, of course.
There you go.
And some good throwbacks to the Lego movie. We had, Tatum and Hill reprising their roles in a scene.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a lot of winking and nodding going on. I do think, though, there's more references here for adults than the children.
Yeah.
Definitely.
They might get the Suicide Squad reference, depending on their age.
Well, it's like Justin said, this is for people that followed Batman for a long time.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's for both. The fine Pixar line is good for all ages, maybe on different levels, but
True.
Here I do think the adults are going to get more out of it than the kids.
Oh, yeah.
Which maybe is not necessarily what you want for a PG animated movie, but in that regard, I also think it's a little bit less fun than the Lego movie. Not because of the dark nature of the story necessarily, but I kind of think that the humor does run out of steam a little bit throughout the movie, because you do kind of want them to focus, like Justin said, on the story a little bit, and all of a sudden there's another wink and a nod, to whatever, be it to Prince or to
Well played.
Whatever. So yeah, on that, I think Lego Movie itself was a little more consistent. But no, I definitely think this is enjoyable. I mean, if every animated movie this year was like this,
it'd be a pretty good
board.
year.
Yeah. Cars 3, I don't know, but
who knows? Second coming, wait. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael Cera as Robin, Joe.
Yeah, I liked him.
Good.
It was funny. I think Michael Cera is always kind of charming in his own way, and he pulls it off.
Yeah.
And
Geeky loser kind of way.
which is, could be for Robin in this
Who
context.
was
I was
that
fine with it.
Joker?
Zach Galifianakis.
No, that's right.
Galifianakis,
Which
yeah.
I did not. I honestly, most of these people, I really had to wait for the credits. I mean, I knew Arnett, of course. I knew the people that came over from the Lego Movie. But Justin didn't know Ellie Kemper. That was one of the few I did know. Didn't recognize Galifianakis at all. Ray Fiennes, didn't recognize him. Rosario Dawson, I actually thought was Elizabeth Banks again.
Oh, really?
Lego alum. Just playing a different role. So yeah, I thought everybody did a great job with that.
Good
Oh,
voice.
yeah, no.
That's
Voice cast wise, spot on.
That's usually a good sign when you can't tell who's doing it.
Absolutely.
Because at least they're putting something else into it.
Yeah.
But all right, well, Joe, what's your grade for Lego Batman?
Well, I enjoyed it. I give it a B+.
It's B+ for me as well.
Same.
All right.
Yeah.
Just a hair down from Lego.
Yeah.
We all had that kind of in the AA- range. Justin, let's hear about Wick 2.
All right.
No, John Wick Chapter 2.
John Wick Chapter 2.
Chapter
You're right.
2.
Actually.
You're right. I wrote John Wick 2, but
Me
it's
too.
Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
The great Wick novel.
Yeah.
But no,
They're getting there.
so this one, obviously the sequel to the first John Wick film, after finally resolving his original motivation to come out of quote-unquote retirement to avenge his dog, Wick, once again played by Keanu Reeves, returns home for a moment of solace. However, that moment is short-lived when his past literally comes back to haunt him in the form of a debt, leaving Wick to travel to Italy to make good on it. Lance Reddick and Common return to the franchise, and newcomers Ian McShane, Ruby Rose, and Lawrence Fishburne have supporting roles.
Ruby Rose again. Third time
Triple
in
X.
2016. Triple X, and what was the other one?
Oh my god.
Resident Evil.
Yep.
Wow.
She's banging him out here.
She really is.
Yeah.
This was essentially what I was kind of hoping The Matrix Reloaded was going to be way back when, where we get a sequel that expands on the mythology, but it doesn't stretch it to the point that you just end up getting narrative whiplash. It feels much more like a cause and effect. We have the first movie being very focused, being very, very simple-minded, but we also see the major impact and influence that caused, more along the lines of this just building on what's already been established, without playing off as being the same movie. Now, where I will admit that the film kind of can be a little loved or hated is going to be understanding how the actual system of the mythology works is very need to know and very show not tell, which can get a little confusing, but it does make it interesting. Where I honestly thought the movie faltered is, while the action and the fight choreography is absolutely fantastic in this time for this installment, the stuff in between is often very slow. Like, for example, in the opening scene, which is pretty much an epilogue to the first film, which is essentially one gigantic crazy fight scene by virtue of Wick, where we get a good 30-40 minutes before we get anything resembling another full-on action sequence again.
This is true.
And to be honest, it feels a little too much. A little too slow moving before we get back into it. It's interesting to see where we're heading, but you kind of are waiting for, okay, when's this going to explode? Because it's John Wick. We know where this is heading anyways.
Watch him blow.
And Wick explode.
Yes. Don't set him off, guys. Don't set him off. Now, Reeves once again does a great job. I think the supporting cast really commits to the characters. I wish they made a bit more use of Reddick this time, who essentially shows up for 2 scenes and is then benched for the rest of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of amusing how they bench him, but
Yeah, he was great.
He's always good, but he doesn't really.
But no, I think it's
true.
I think it's a worthy follow up. I can't say I liked it as much as the first installment, but definitely hoping that we get another time around to wrap everything up.
I actually liked it about as much as the first one.
Really? Okay.
Now, I mean, of the 3 of us, you liked the first one the most. So that, I think, makes sense. But I really enjoyed the first one. But coming off the heels of Equalizer, it was like kind of same movie, same plot.
Same
man.
Reeves versus... Yeah, same man. But what I like about this movie, or this version, I guess, is that now that we've established Wick and his skill set and everything surrounding him, the movie knows a lot more like what to do with itself the second time around. There's a lot more tongue-in-cheek moments. I mean, the audience I saw it with was like howling at some of this stuff. The first one, I think, maybe took itself a little bit too seriously. This one, I think, finds a really nice balance between the serious stuff and the fun action scenes. Now, I can't deny that the first part after the initial action scene does take a while to get moving, and that sort of correlates with my biggest issue with the film, is there's too many characters. There's too many things to follow. There's too many threads to lead. And, by the time we get back around to all of them, it's kind of like you forget some of these people were even in the movie.
Yes.
Reddick is, what's his name, Lance Reddick, right?
Yeah.
He's kind of one of them because he's absent for a good hour.
Yes.
Not that he's one of Wick's foes, but it's like he shows up again and you're like, oh yeah, I was wondering what happened to that guy and the dog. My favorite character is Ian McShane, other than Wick himself. I thought he was great here, as he typically is. I liked Ruby Rose. They gave her something different to do than her characters in Resident Evil and Triple X, whilst also kind of, building off of what she's already good at. But yeah, I thought it was more fun than the original, so I liked it a good bit. Joe, how'd it grab you?
Thought it was all right.
Okay. So a step down for you, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think significantly. Well, you guys mentioned some interesting things. I think that there's one thing I can't deny. There's some really good action in this movie. There's some great fight choreography, and there's some brilliant shots. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, like it's a very pretty looking movie, and it's got some pretty fights. But you're right, the mythology kind of becomes problematic and frustrating. Like my one friend, when we saw it, was trying to explain to me his theory on how the assassin's economic system worked.
Yeah,
and I was
weird.
that's no.
Yeah, the currency is a little off.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff's ill-defined, and I was hoping for more world building, and there kind of is, but there also isn't. Like they introduce more characters and ideas, but they don't really explain anything. So I'm like, so this is just an excuse to get him from one place to another.
Also, Fishburne's character, I know they wanted to reunite them, Matrix style.
I didn't like that at all.
His character could be lifted out completely.
I didn't,
and you wouldn't miss
not
anything.
miss a beat.
And that also confused me because it's like, okay, everybody's out for Wick except when they're not, and when there are rules, except you can bypass them because one guy says it. That stuff frustrated me a little bit, which is why the next movie is basically to be John Wick versus the world, which I'm sure will be fine.
Yes.
But it's like it gets to the point where I guess it's supposed to be ridiculous, but I'm like, okay, there's not as much tension. But I guess the biggest problem I had with this one versus the first one is one of the reasons I really liked the first one, and the edge that John Wick had over something like The Equalizer was it was simple. You had your basic motivation for the John Wick character, but he had that motivation. You had that emotional drive. You wanted to see him get revenge because they killed his dog. Mm-hmm. It was hard hitting. That's something this movie doesn't have. It's like, okay, compared to the first movie, it's not. I mean, yes, they're trying to kill John Wick. They betrayed him, sure, but is it as emotionally hard hitting as the first movie?
Well, I think it's one of those, like, this time around, the first time around it was okay. Dog is pretty much him trying to get away from that life. Mm-hmm. Dog is out of the picture. Time for payback. This time around, it's just sort of the same deal, but a little bit more broadly defined. Just once again, still trying to get out of that life and live in peace. But
you're right. I mean, that's still there, but because we don't have the emotional punch of that, I mean, the killing of the dog.
That is why I liked Wick more than
versus blowing up his house. Yes, it was bad, but nobody can deny that emotional core is what made the first movie. In a lot of ways. And
absolutely,
and that's a noticeable edge this movie doesn't have. It's fun. It's got some fun. I do think that part that you're building up towards the next action scene is great, but it's got a lot of fun action too. You've got all kinds of interesting fights. It's introduced something new to film I've never seen before called the casual gunfight, which I really liked. Like, I mean, and there were some funny moments, sure, but really the lack of motivation and really the lack of plot, even though you've got a lot of plot threads, it kind of bugged me. So I think if you can kind of turn your brain off, it's fine. But other than that, it's just a pretty action movie. One, it is an action movie compared to the first one.
Oh, it's definitely an action movie.
Yeah, but I think the first one had a little more heart, which is kind of why people liked it.
I think people did enjoy the revenge for the dead dog bit. You're right.
It's a core aspect that's kind of missing, quite frankly. I know it doesn't seem that important, but that is the driving force for Wick.
Well, like I said, I also think this one is more about cause and effect than simply drive.
That's true, but there's less drive,
And the cause and effect is also
within each movie. And you're right, it's there, but broadly defined. His relationship with this guy, we kind of know what it was, but not really.
Yeah.
Why is he like? I don't know. Like he was kind of illy defined. Like the bad guys in the first one, they weren't really that complicated, but you knew what they were about.
Ish.
You knew what the father was about a little more. His relationship with the son.
The dad, I will agree with.
Like if you compare the main villains,
yeah,
that also not as well defined.
No.
So it's little things that I think made all the difference. Really.
He had some good kills in this one, though.
He had a lot of good kills, a lot of good headshots,
yeah.
a lot of thugs,
a lot of good penciling.
Yep.
A lot of good art museum trips to Rome and House of Mirrors, which was really
Trippy
cool.
Fight.
That actually was very cool. The House of Mirrors, the way that was shot, was one of the most engaging fight scenes in just a straight ahead action movie I'd seen in a while.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I did like that, huh? Well, you've given me things to think about, Joe. I don't know how much I can. I'm gonna go with my original grade, but yeah, I might have to think on it a little bit.
Hey man, I was as excited for this as everyone else, but I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed.
Yeah.
I really was.
Okay.
But I'm glad everyone else liked it, but I just couldn't get as invested this time around.
Okay. Well, what's your grade for it?
It's a B-. All
right. I'm gonna stick with my B+, but you've definitely given me some food for thought.
All right,
Justin.
Well, I do have to admit I did like that last scene, but I do have to admit that some of the things I do think are a minor setback. For me, it's just a B.
Okay.
See, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not on par with.
I left satisfied.
No, I guess not.
I think a lot of people did, and a lot of people that I saw with didn't take it seriously. And I get that. I get what they're going for, and John Wick definitely had that tongue-in-cheek aspect. But
I was gonna say the dark humor works.
But that emotional core was still there in the first movie. It was simple, but it worked really well. And this one, not quite as good. It just wasn't there.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's
more like Wazamo. I need it.
Where was he?
He's always in 2 scenes of these movies.
Yeah, the beginning and the end.
Yes, like he shows.
He had a good scene to fix your car, even though it's totally trash. That was funny.
That was very funny. Even at the end, he didn't even have any lines.
Because is he going to go after Wick or isn't he? Like everyone's going after Wick.
Right. All right. Well, finally, we've got 50 Shades Darker.
Is it darker?
And this is darker in some aspects. Sure.
Okay.
one of the more divisive films of all time on Film Fanatics, the original.
I was in the middle.
Well, yeah, you were in the middle, but I mean, Justin straight up F, and I gave it a B-. It's rare that there's an F and then someone else gives it a positive. That's rare. It's happened, I think, one other time. But As Above, So Below was another example.
True.
But, okay, so in this one, you've got Dakota Johnson and Jamie Dornan, again, returning as Anastasia Steele and Christian Grey. Pretty much, in this one, she's now working for this publishing house, and at the end of the first movie, spoilers if you haven't seen it.
Get to the good stuff. Dan.
All right. They broke up.
Sure doesn't.
So now he's trying to get her back. Hey, congrats on your new job. He wants to buy the firm so she can work for him both in the bedroom and out of the bedroom.
There it is. Tell me.
I've defended the first movie in many different aspects, and I will defend the first movie still.
Okay.
This is just so bad. It's like that Allegiant movie. Remember, we had Divergent, which I was very high on. It was like a B+.
Yeah.
Then the second one was like decent, and then the third one was like, oh my god, what's happening? Mm-hmm. This is 50 Shades Darker. The sex scenes, first of all, are a lot more infrequent. It's a lot of like character building, which nobody comes to these movies for.
No.
And I mentioned this, when we talked about the first one. The first book, I got about 100 pages in, and I was kind of bored with it. This book I didn't even bother picking up for that reason. But first of all, Kim Basinger's in it as the woman who gave Christian Grey, his lessons in sex when he was 14 or whatever.
Great.
And why he's, messed up in the head. And he's got a business venture with her. And so Dakota Johnson's like, oh my god, whatever. You got to get rid of that. And then his mom, Marcia Gay Harden, shows up. And there's a helicopter scene where the helicopter goes down. And then Christian Grey's fine. But then they literally don't mention the woman that was in the helicopter with him for like 4 scenes. So I'm like, you guys are having sex and your buddy is like dead in the river right now.
Yeah, seriously.
And then finally she shows up at the party, but it's like,
JK, I'm alright.
The chemistry is worse in this one for sure. All the rumors about them, off screen hating each other. He's not a good enough actor to pull it off. If you hate your co-star, we've seen it work many times where they can work fine on screen. What'd you say?
X-Files.
X-Files is one. Desperate Housewives is another. There's plenty of examples. Here, he just isn't good. Now, I like her enough. I mean, I've talked about that a few different times. How to Be Single and some other things. But she does an okay enough job here to get by. But, their chemistry just isn't there. The lack of sex scenes I don't understand, because why else are you seeing this movie? It certainly isn't for the publishing meeting scene.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
And also, listen, part of the reason I loved the first one as much as I did, love is a strong word, but enjoyed the first one as much as I did, is that ending. She, at the end has had enough, and she's like, F, I'm done.
Done.
Here, there's legitimately no reason for her to even ever talk to him again.
But he's so great.
And yet here we are, again and again. It just didn't make any sense to me.
It's badly written.
So, but it's more than that it's badly written, Joe. It's that it doesn't need to exist. It doesn't make any sense. It's like you and The Wedding Ringer. Mm-hmm. The Wedding Ringer's plot is so ridiculous that even for a comedy, at the beginning of the movie,
Too far-fetched.
when he's just like, nah, I can't really pull this off. End of movie. Like here, like I thought it was bold for a romantic movie. And I know Justin kind of laughs when I say romantic with 50 Shades, but
Cut it off at the
it's
end.
Whatever, romantic in quotes even. But for it to end like that, I thought was okay, cool, daring.
Different.
She's deciding she's had enough.
It's a valid point.
Here, keeps going back over and over again. Christian, I don't want your money. Christian, I don't want your sex. Christian, stop harassing my boss.
What's he got?
But yet she never stops. And look, there are girls like this in the real world. I can't deny that.
Good role models, though?
But not good role models,
No.
certainly. And I just,
But to be fair, neither of them are.
That.
No, neither of them are. No, he's not a good role
No,
model.
neither of them are.
He's a bad person.
No, Christian Grey is a horrible, horrible human being.
And even learning more about his origins,
His origin.
it still didn't make me feel like, okay, like we've seen movies where it's like, all right, you're a jerk the whole movie, but like then we find out, well, you've had this and that happen, and you've caught, cause and effect, John Wick all over again.
Same movie.
Oh,
I'll bring it around,
This
Justin, to
comparison.
John Wick.
I can't.
But even knowing that isn't really like redeeming him any. So
Not especially.
So Justin, I mean, listen. I mean, we've fought on the first one.
Yes.
The only argument you'll hear from me on this one is if you don't also fail. Like, if you give this grade a better one than the original, I'm not sure what to do. It's so terrible. So tell me.
Well, Dan, I'm sure you're expecting some sort of rebuttal, but honestly,
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm not.
Yes, but I have eyes, and
Right, okay.
This is just a train wreck. I
Yeah.
mean,
But you didn't like the first one.
That's all I wanted to hear.
No.
If you fail the first one, there's no way that the second one gets a pass.
well, so when this was slowly entering production, they were mentioning, oh yes, well, the first one was a horrible representation of the book, so we're going to get E.L. James's husband to write the script, and that'll get everything on track. We're forgetting one colossal component here, though. The books are not well written.
It's
Red Room of Pain, people. I'm sorry, but
They're not.
they're not.
I just
they aren't.
From what
And
I've seen, I agree.
yeah.
yeah. But the biggest problem is, and I'll tell you listeners about this. After I saw the first movie, there was a part of me that wasn't sure if I was going to be able to watch the second or third movie, so I just sort of went on Wikipedia and read plot synopses of what happens in the second and third books. There is not enough storyline in either book for a full-on feature film, and this is a testament to that. There are so many fillers, subplots that are wholly unnecessary, character motivations that go out the window at the turn of a dime,
What about that helicopter scene, though? Exciting?
and of course, random helicopters.
The helicopter scene was so much less exciting too in this one.
Oh, yes.
Really? Even with
First
the
of all, you
crashing?
didn't have the Ellie Goulding song over
No.
top of it, which is a fantastic song. Soundtrack choices in this are bad too. Anyway.
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
no,
I've
that was actually one thing that I
talked to
was
death about it, but
wildly disappointed by. I actually really like the
the
first one
soundtrack.
soundtrack.
I mean, that Ellie Goulding song, "Say What You Will About Whatever,"
Yeah.
is a great song.
No, like that, I thought Earned It was well deserved of its nomination.
Yeah, that's right. Earned It was great as well.
Yeah. The Taylor Swift collab, I think, is abysmal.
It's pretty bad.
Yikes.
I mean, this is just a lifeless movie with cringe-inducing scenes. Dakota Johnson continues to solidify my
You don't
my
like
theory
her.
that she is easily one of, if not the worst working actress in the biz.
Worse than Seyfried.
Seyfried at least has had a good
You didn't think
performance
so,
here and
second.
there.
Yeah, she's good in Les Mis.
This almost makes me want to apologize to the first movie, but it's bad. It's
And see, and this is
Unbelievably
why
bad.
sometimes it's hard to fail the first movie because it's like if the second one is that bad, there's no F minus.
no.
Only in your mind.
You know.
But there are variations of Fs, obviously.
Well, there are.
Yeah.
But like, right, the first one we said good soundtrack. At least
Yeah.
it had that,
There you go.
if nothing else.
I thought the first one was okay.
But the lack of sex scenes, I just don't understand.
You're literally missing half the marketing pitch.
Which, to be honest, I know you like Magic Mike XXXL more than the first one. There wasn't nearly enough men stripping. That's why people go to these movies.
But that's the way it was in the first one, right?
There was a lot of male stripping.
There was
in the first
montages,
movie.
but
I mean,
nobody really committed to it.
Here it was more to the end. In the end, they had a big show, but like there wasn't stripping throughout, like in the first movie.
See
Listen,
montages.
if Dakota Johnson took her boob out every now and then in this one, okay, then maybe we'd have some. But she's naked way less in this movie. He is still not naked.
At this point,
like,
you might as well commit.
You see his butt. I forget if you did in the first one or not, but
I'm sure.
I don't find him appealing. So for me, who cares? But
oh man.
Anyway, all right. So F for
F.
me. Yeah, obviously.
I
Joe,
see it.
It's an F.
Well,
take our word.
I didn't think it was going to be very
Listen,
good.
if me and Justin are agreeing on a 50 Shades movie, it's got to be an F.
What if I loved it for guilty pleasure purposes?
No.
No, you can love the first one for guilty pleasure purposes.
Okay.
This one is just, it's hard to swallow. No pun intended.
Oh. Wow.
I think on that note we end the show.
Indeed, sir. Well played.
So thanks for listening, and Joe, since we didn't get to hear from you on 50 Shades, tell us the new stuff on the Joe channel.
Well, if you want to check out some detailed reviews of John Wick 2, we go into more of my thoughts and my friend's thoughts on there. I've also got a review coming up for the film Desperado. My buddy Alex was requesting that.
Interesting.
And I've got some more podcasts.
Maybe I should finally watch that.
Yeah.
That might be a good plan.
Yeah, I want, I think, in-depth enough on it. But, it's interesting. Yeah, if you guys know about it. Continuing the Robert Rodriguez films. So
Very good. Are you doing all the Robert Rodriguez films?
I'm doing his action movies.
I was going to say, if Shorts is coming up, I'll be glad to talk more about Shorts.
Does that include Road Racers, though?
I don't know. I'm going by my friend's request. So I was starting with the Mexico trilogy. Anything after that,
see where it goes.
Like we skipped
Road Racers is first.
We skipped what was it? Dusk Till Dawn, because it was considered a collab with Tarantino.
With Tarantino. Okay.
So we're keeping Rodriguez
Very
straight.
Interesting. Yeah. Although you've done all the Tarantinos, so you
that's fitting.
may as well do that too, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Finish the race, one heavy.
I want to talk about Sin City, so there's an excuse for that.
Oh, there
you go.
And you can check us out on Facebook, Film Fanatics with an exclamation point, and the Twitter feed at Film Fanatics Pod. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you back here next time.